it's Michelle from Scrap Secrets, and welcome to the first video for the hashtag event for September. So this month's hashtag is lovefallart, and I started thinking about projects and thinking about what I wanted to do, and I knew the colors red, orange, yellow. I wanted to do those bold autumn colors that you see when the leaves change. But I couldn't figure out what exactly I wanted to do. And then I thought about, when does it really feel like fall for me? And that always is when pumpkin things start coming out. Pumpkin spice lattes that everybody's craving. I don't drink them, but everyone's been talking about them. But for me, it's when tasty cake pumpkin pies come out. That's my absolute favorite, and it's the sign that fall is here. So unfortunately, I don't have anything that I could make for a tasty cake pumpkin pie, but I may do pumpkin pie things for another video. So I thought I would go with the ever popular latte. So what I'm going to do is, I've already cut out a bunch of pieces from the Dynamics die set coffee cup, and I used the cup, the corrugated piece, the top, and one of the hearts that comes in the set. And we're also going to use my favorite things, Lena Lamb Designs Perk Up stamp set. We're going to use the Thanks a Latte. We're going to use some distress inks, potentially. I think we're going to use the stencil because it has a bunch of really cool fall leaves on it. We're going to do something interesting with the corrugated piece. All of these were cut out with scraps that I had lying around, so this actually is the back of it. So it does look like that corrugated cardboard, but I have a different thing in mind for that. So you can use it just like that, or if you have the tool that I have, you can do the technique I'm going to do. And then I have this scrap piece of paper left over from a project that I did a couple weeks ago, so I think I'm going to use that. The only thing that I did not use a scrap of is for the card base. So, and we even have some potential scrap pieces of paper to go behind our piece. So, alright, let's get started. So, the first thing that we're going to want to do is, I actually want to show you guys what I mean with this piece. So this is like the holder that goes on the cup. So I have this paper crimper here, and it took me a minute to remember how to use it. So what you're going to do, this is the front of it, so what you're going to do is you're actually going to put your piece down between these two metal rollers and then roll them. So there's arrows here, so you put it in. Then you're going to squeeze the handles, and then you're going to run it through. And on the other end, it comes out like that. So it really does look like that corrugated piece. So now, for a little bit more dimension, what we're going to do is, if you have distress ink, you can do this. You can do it with actually any ink. I just prefer to use distress ink and a mini ink blending tool, but you can actually take the ink pad and just run it along the sides of it if you want. But I just like to do this. It gives the piece just a little bit of dimension. Just do it on all sides. So you see, it just gives a little bit of finishing touch. You can actually run it over this, so you'll have some highlights and lowlights. It'll be darker in the pieces that are sticking up, and then like the little the peaks, and then the valleys will be like the actual cardboard. So that gives it a little bit more dimension too. I'm always looking for ways to make things look a little bit different. So we're going to put that to the side. We also might do that for this piece here, the lid, but I'll decide that in a bit. So I'm going to put that stuff to the side, and then we're going to take the stencil and figure out what parts of the stencil we want on the paper. So I want to make sure the leaves are on there. So this is a unique stencil because it's like laser. I think it's a laser cut stencil. So we are going to take some washi tape and stick this down. I should have already had this done, but I didn't think about doing it. Just going to try to stick the ends that are not touching the paper. And then I have 3 different colors of distress ink. I have Festive Berries, Rusty Hinge, and Mustard Seed. Okay, so I think we're just going to start with Mustard Seed, the lightest color, or the yellow color. And just sponge a little bit of it on. And I like to kind of bring it in on an angle, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to blend these colors together. That's the great thing about distress inks. They blend beautifully together. So then we're going to do some orange. And I like to start off of the paper. So I actually started on the washi tape with this. So that it doesn't create a very harsh line or that circle when you bring it onto your paper. And then what we're going to do is we're going to finish it up with Festive Berries. So you can see all I'm doing is dabbing the ink blending tool into the ink, starting off the paper, and blending it in. Now, distress inks react with water, so if you wanted to put water on top of this, you can get a really cool effect. You get little droplets effects on there. Okay. So if you guys don't know what the properties of distress ink are, I would highly recommend looking it up, because there are so many neat techniques that you can do with distress inks. So we're just going to put the washi tape off to the side. And look at that awesome background that I got. That starts with the yellow, the orange is in the middle, and then it fades out to the red. I love it. I actually wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it. And that happens to me all the time when I do projects. I never know if the idea that I have in my head is going to be what it looks like in reality, and usually it's not. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it doesn't do it the idea that was in my head justice. I'm just going to spray a little bit of water. I don't have much left in my mini mister, and just wipe up the distress inks. This is a craft mat, and it's very easy. Everything just wipes right off of it, so that I can keep my work surface clean. And then I have this Heidi Swap mat underneath of it, so it gives it a little bit of cushion when I go to stamp. So I'm going to put these pieces off to the side. And we are now going to start working on our coffee cup. So what I want to do is I want to take the corrugated piece, and I want to make sure it's put on like this. But then I also want to put the heart on top of it. And we're going to use, I believe, some Glossy Accents on top of it. If you guys haven't seen Glossy Accents, it gives a really cool finishing touch to it. So I'm going to bring out my Zig 2-way glue pen, which is just a pen. It looks like a regular pen. And I'm going to run some glue on the back of this corrugated piece. I'm going to put it in place. It fits really nicely on top of that cup. And then I'm going to put the heart on top of it. Now it might be a little bit tough, because with the corrugated piece it may not stick to this, which is what I'm finding that I think it may not. But sometimes you might just have to hold it down for a second. There you go. So now for this top, I do want to run the distress ink over it. Okay, so I have pumice stone. So this is just the circle piece, that felt piece that goes on there. I can either take this off, take it off one of the ink blending tools, or you can just use the circle itself. It doesn't matter. But pumice stone is the distress ink that we're going to use, and it is a gray, just to give it a little bit of dimension. Again, you probably can't really tell on the video, but let me hold it up to the light, or hold it up to the camera, and let's see if you can. I'm trying not to transfer. I transferred a little bit of the yellow ink that was on my hands onto it. You can see it at the top. So I'm just going to see if I can put a little bit more gray on there. That's the problem when you go from one ink to another. When you're trying to take them off, it gets all over your hands. So that yellow got all over my hands, and unfortunately a little bit of it transferred over onto the gray. But I covered it up with the a little bit more distress ink. So I'm just going to try to be really careful not to do that again with any other ink colors. So we're just going to place the lid on top of it. And there's our super adorable latte cup. This is a little crooked. I put one side up higher than the other. Okay. So Glossy Accents come in a bottle like this. I think there's 2 different sizes. And I just have one of these little plastic tags that you get from like pricing on clothing. And I put that in there so to keep it from clogging. So all you do is use it like glue. You're just going to color over the heart, and it gives it a glossy finish. Is that? So we're going to let that dry. And you just kind of want to squeeze the tube, get all the air bubbles out of it and whatever's left in there. And then all you do is stick the little plastic piece back in there. And so far, it's been several months, and this hasn't clogged on me yet. So, really good tip from some other fellow crafters. So here's the background, and we want this piece to go on top of it like this. So now I want to see if I want to put any of these pieces on underneath of it. Since there's really not a lot of orange, that doesn't look right. I'm just trying to figure out what color looks best underneath of it. It may not need a color at all. That's way too busy. It may not need anything. Maybe a solid orange. And this is what I do when I'm trying to decide what to do underneath of it. I actually kind of like that, the solid orange underneath of there. So we are going to take the paper trimmer. Now the card is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And this piece of paper, the background paper, is 4 by 5 1/4. So we're going to do 1/8 of an inch bigger than that paper. So, 1/8 of an inch bigger than that. And then we're going to do 5 1/4 plus 1/8 of an inch. And put the excess to the side. So now I can also take my orange distress ink and run it around the edges. Now because the core of this paper is white, you're going to see a little bit of white around the edges. It doesn't bother some people, other people it bothers. So if you wanted to give it a little bit more of a finishing touch, you can do that. It doesn't have to be distress ink. Again, it could be any ink. We're going to bring in our ATG gun, and I'm going to put this piece down. This is the first background piece. Just want to make sure that I'm putting it on correctly. So now there should be an even border around all sides. It doesn't look like there is. I may have cut it to the incorrect size. Let me just see. No. Looks like it's even around all those sides. Okay. Alright. And then for this background, I'm going to put a stenciled piece on there. It doesn't matter which way it goes on. There's really no right or wrong way. Okay. So my latte cup on there. So now I'm going to try to decide if I wanted to put this on the inside or not. But we have this scrap piece here. So I think what I'm going to do is stamp it in red and then in yellow, and then just make this piece here go around the background and just put the coffee cup on the front of it and then have that on the inside. So this is why I plan to do things, but it doesn't always turn out the way I planned it. So now I have this stamp. This is Thanks a Latte, and it's too wide to fit on here without going into the edges. So if you look at it here, there are, it's like indentations of the stitch lines around it. So I wanted to say Thanks A and Latte on the second line. So what I'm going to do is, you can take washi tape, post-it note, whatever you want. I have a bunch of post-it notes laying around, but since we used washi tape earlier, I have some washi tape that can go over the latte part. So I will put the Thanks A onto the block. One of the things that I really like to do is to use my ink swatch piece that I made. And here it is here to kind of pick out the colors. So here are some of the reds that I have. I have like a purplish red, I have a dark brick red, and then I have this red. And this is called, my favorite thing is Hybrid Ink Red Hot. So we're going to use that because it seems to match the reds in this a little bit better than this brick red or the purpley red. So I really don't have very many colors for the yellow. So I have this neon yellow, which if I go through my ink swatches, I'm not really sure. This is the yellow that I have. I can always stamp it in distress ink, and maybe that's what I will do, so that way they match perfectly. You can do that. It doesn't give you as crisp of an image if you stamp in distress ink, but if that doesn't bother you, and it usually doesn't bother me, just ink the stamp up, and then before you put, oh, sorry. So here's the distress ink. I'm using the Festive Berries distress ink. And then you just want to take that washi tape off because that'll have ink on it. You're just going to want to place that down kind of in the middle. So there's the Thanks A. And then take your, I just use a tissue because that's what I have in the office, my craft room. And then latte. So I'm going to take that same piece of the washi tape, put that over there. We're going to use the mustard seed distress ink again and ink up the latte part of it. Hopefully I'm not going off camera too much. It's pretty easy. So the one thing that I did notice is that on the, I got a little bit of yellow on the A. So I'm going to want to wipe that off because I don't want that on there. Okay. I'm trying to center this. And unfortunately for my hands, a little bit of yellow got on the bottom. I don't know if you can see it, but it did. So, you can do a couple things. You can try to scratch it off. I like to take a white gel pen and see if I can mute it. And I think that just made it worse. So what I may do is I may take that Distress ink. Always planning on the fly. This kind of stuff happens all the time. Inky fingers and crafters go hand in hand. So now I'm just kind of creating a border around the back of it to highlight it. And I'm trying not to get my fingers on anything else and create any more problems. Okay, let's not put that mustard seed away. I'm going to measure this really quickly to see how big this is, and then I'm going to cut out of orange, I think 1/4 of an inch bigger. So that's 3 and it's almost 3 1/2, 3 1/4 by almost 2. That just gives it a little bit of an orange border. Again, I'm going to go through where the white edges are. Just going to go and ink those up. Just to kind of finish the piece off. And you can use your ATG gun, or you can use a wet glue, or a Zig 2A glue pen. There's the interior piece. So I'm just going to glue that onto the inside. Thanks a latte. I really should clean my hands off after using Distress inks. I should know better. I should have some baby wipes. But I am packing to move, so a lot of my stuff, and I've been packing for a while. I've been trying to get my house cleaned up. So a lot of my supplies are either in a box somewhere or put away in the closet. So I think what I want to do is maybe pop this up. I don't know if I have foam dimensionals here. See if I have any in my, sometimes I have them in my desk. They're just hanging around. I was just trying to see if I could get something to kind of make that pop off of there. Okay, so I just quickly ran and got some pop dots. These are from the dollar bin at AC Moore, Michael's. Fairly inexpensive. I'm just trying not to move the Glossy Accents too much because it will run. And this may be overkill, but I think I'm going to put 5 on there. Maybe 6. And I hope to have pictures of this card so that you can see what the Glossy Accents looks like after it dries up on my blog. And there will be a link to that below in the more information section. So you can go over and check that out and check out other projects that I've done. And I most likely will have a picture of this on Instagram after I'm done. So there's the card. And then the inside, thanks a latte. So that's the very first love fall art project that I've done. So thank you guys so much for watching. Come back the rest of the days. It's until the 20th, and the hashtag is always good, so you can go back and check out all of the other artists that are participating in this event. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have comments or questions, please feel free to leave them below, and subscribe if you guys aren't already a subscriber. I'll see you guys again soon for another video. Bye!